Hey everyone, Brian here. Welcome back. I did a mouthpiece video about a year ago, maybe a little longer, and it was the first video I think I did, one of the first that I did for this channel, and it was horrible. It was really bad. I was really awkward. I'm still pretty awkward, but I wanted to do something a little bit. I wanted to do another one that was a little bit quicker and more informative and a bit more basic. I apologize for the lighting. This is the best that we're going to get. There's shadows coming in from the sun. It's about mid-morning. Anyway, so this is kind of the basic overview of brass mouthpieces, and these specifically here are trombone mouthpieces. Now, mouthpieces come in different shapes and sizes. This is true for trumpet, for trombone, for tuba, and French horn. But as you can see, there's, it's kind of a classic design here in this Bach. It's kind of bowl-shaped, right? You have heavyweight models, which are larger. They add more weight to the mouthpiece. It changes the response and the color of it, of the sound. You have kind of like a V-shaped cup that you see a lot. This is a Marcinkiewicz, but you see this in Dennis Wick mouthpieces as well. Kind of this V shape to it. And then you have sort of these boutique mouthpieces. This is a Dennis Wick Heritage. It's sort of shaped after some classic models, but you can see it's very weird, right? It's much different than the others. Kind of bowl-shaped like the Bach. Anyway, so you see some of those coming from different manufacturers. Now, on trombone, you'll find that there's different size, these are called the shanks, and different trombones take different size shanks, excuse me. So this is a small shank mouthpiece. It goes in a small bore tenor trombone. And this is a large shank mouthpiece. This could go in a large symphonic trombone or like a bass trombone. But you can see the difference in size, right? This one's smaller, this one's bigger. Okay, so we have a few different parts that make up a mouthpiece, right? And a lot of specialty mouthpieces, you can actually take them apart by their different, sections. So let's start with the rim. This is what touches your lips. It's really important to get a rim that's comfortable for your facial features, right? Some people like a rim that's thin. Some people like it fatter. I like a fat rim. A fatter rim is going to feel softer. It's going to give you more endurance. A thinner rim is going to give you clearer articulations, but it's going to cut into your lip a little bit more. Oftentimes the rims you'll see, some are more curved, some are flatter. Dennis Wick mouthpieces in particular can be really, really flat. And these are all, it's hard to tell with an eye test, so you kind of have to play them to get a feel for each of them. When you go on a mouthpiece manufacturer's website, ideally they'll have measurements for you. What you're measuring with the rim is rim width, right? So how wide or thin this section right here is, okay? And then sometimes they'll tell you if it's flat, if it's contoured, that kind of thing. So the next section is the cup. So there's two parts to the cup, two measurements, I should say. The cup width, which is going to determine how large of a portion of your lips, your embouchure, it sort of encloses, and cup depth, which is to say how deep is the cup, how far down does it go. So this one I have here is a 4AL. This is a big symphonic model. It's quite deep, whereas this is Marcinkiewicz 8, I believe. There we go. Yeah, 8H. It's quite a bit shallower. Now, that's hard to kind of see on camera. You'll just have to take my word for it. But these cup widths, right, the diameter across is, they're about the same. They're very similar in width. One's just shallower than the other, and we'll talk about the difference that makes here in a second. Okay, the third sort of measuring point that I want to talk about is the venturi. It's right inside here, right at the bottom of my fingertip. That's the venturi is the narrowest point on the mouthpiece. So sometimes they call this the throat, but I think a better term is venturi. You'll see similar term used with lead pipes. Okay, but venturi basically is the narrowest point in the mouthpiece, and it leads into what we call the shank here. Okay, some mouthpieces have pretty wide venturis. Let me grab a bass trombone mouthpiece here. You can see the difference, right? There we go. It's tough, again, to tell, with just an eye measurement, but hopefully you get an idea. This is a bass trombone, so it's mouthpiece. The venturi is much wider because the horn itself you're using a wider column of air. This is a jazz mouthpiece, so it's a bit narrower, and it's more focused. You're going to get, it's going to be more efficient in the upper register, that kind of thing, right? And then you have the shank. Now they also call this the bore, but basically these come in different shapes and sizes as well. Some of them are kind of like V-shaped, right? Like that. I don't think that's the case with this one, but some of them are more, I think Dennis Wick calls this one a barrel shape, which means it's more kind of, it's about the same throughout the length of the shank. A V-shank would become wider as it gets closer to the end of the mouthpiece. So why does this matter? Well, basically these measurements change the playing characteristics of the mouthpiece, and brass players like to sort of tailor their mouthpiece to the sound. They like to tailor their mouthpiece to the sound that they have in their head, that they're trying to get out of the particular horn. Now, you wouldn't use the same mouthpiece necessarily for different horns. Like I said, some of them are small bore, made for jazz or rock. Some of them are larger, made for classical music. Some of them are made for bass trombones. They're quite wide. But the different measurements are going to change the sound characteristics of the mouthpiece, and that's what brass players are looking for when they look for a mouthpiece. So what are some of the things that happen? Well, we talked about having a heavyweight mouthpiece over a kind of a standard weight body, right? More mass is going to give the player more feedback. It's going to lessen the spectrum of character tones that you can get out of the mouthpiece. It's going to make it sort of more even across different volumes or registers, so that the mouthpiece is going to be more even. You're going to get less. You're going to be able to draw less character out of your sound with a heavyweight mouthpiece. Marcinkiewicz are known for making these fairly lightweight, thin-bodied mouthpieces that that tend to get a really great fast response and more of a brilliant sound, more breadth of character, but I've found with these Marcinkiewicz, certain notes really like to pop. Sometimes the sound really likes to pop out and jump out at you, and you have to kind of learn the characteristics of each note, how it plays on the mouthpiece. This one's interesting. These heritage mouthpieces are interesting because they're very thin at the top but heavy at the bottom. So the response is good, but they still have a pretty good core sound to them. They're very even. Now let's talk about cup depth. So, as I was saying earlier, this mouthpiece, this is a 4 AL. I don't know if you can see that. Isn't quite, yeah, there it is. So this one's a symphonic mouthpiece. It's pretty wide, and it's fairly deep, and it has a fairly open venturi to it. The depth of cup changes the sound in that it gives you, with a deep cup, it's going to give you more lower overtones to your sound. The sound's going to sound rounder, warmer, which is kind of what symphonic players, orchestral players tend to prefer. A shallower cup, say on this Wick Heritage, this is a 9BS. It's pretty shallow. This one, a shallower cup, is going to give you more high overtones of brighter sound. So it's great for, say, playing lead in a big band, or playing like a funk or a rock show. They tend to be more efficient. You need more effort and a much stronger foundation of air with a deeper cup, and particularly with a more open venturi, you need a very solid air column. But a shallower cup, a more narrow venturi is going to be more efficient, especially in the upper register, and it's also going to lead to kind of a brighter sound. We could get into, cups that are shaped like a C, or like this model in particular is more of a V cup. But I think that's probably enough for today. Those are the kind of basics. When you're looking for a mouthpiece, the first thing I would do is find a cup width and a rim width that you find comfortable, that you can play, for a couple different sets of music, couple hours of music. Some people really prefer narrow rims to wide rims, and shallow cups to deep cups, and vice versa. You should also consider the sound profile that you're going for. Are you playing first trombone in your big band at school? Or are you taking orchestral auditions, professionally? Like, is that kind of the sound you're going for? Are you playing on a large bore instrument? Do you need are you trying to match the size? Basically, you're trying to match the mouthpiece to the horn in addition to your own physical features, which is tricky, not easy to do. It's a long journey. It's tough finding a good mouthpiece. The best thing you can do is to try a bunch out at a music store, or if you're lucky enough to have a manufacturer near you, call them up, see if you can come in and play test the whole line of them, and talk to somebody about, what you're kind of looking for. Anyway, I hope this is useful and helps you out when you're looking for your own mouthpiece. Good luck. Enjoy the journey. Most people end up buying a ton of them and then never using them. I have a few that I'm trying to get rid of. So, like I said, it's a bit of a journey. But best of luck.